Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. I hear a lot of people referring to the Nuremberg Code. They want to use it in their religious exemptions. They want to bring it up when they go to the Board of Supervisor meetings. They're writing it in letters to their congressmen and their senators saying that we need to abide by the Nuremberg Code. You don't have a right to tell me what to do with my body. I have a right to object to medical experimentation because the Nuremberg Code says so. I've heard so many in the freedom community talking about the Nuremberg Code, and I'm here to tell you that there are some problems with the Nuremberg Code. Let me share that with you. I talked about this some time ago, and I've been meaning to bring you this information again because so many people have forgotten about it. I will tell you from the get-go that the principles in the Nuremberg Code are actually quite sound. I actually agree with the statements in the Nuremberg Code. Let me know in a comment why you think I might object to this so-called international code of ethics or behavior, and that might give you a clue right there. We're going to do a bit of a deep dive, and I will bring you good news about actual American laws and codes that do protect you from having to undergo unwanted medical interventions, but it does not rely on the Nuremberg Code. So stick with me. I do want to thank the sponsor of this video. We're going to hop over to my friends at noblegoldinvestments.com. I do have an interview with the CEO of this company. I know him personally, and this is the only gold company that I trust. You can get all of your questions answered. When you give them a call, you'll speak to somebody in the United States, maybe even the father of the CEO who works for the company, and you can call 877-646-5347. Friends, we are in a world of economic uncertainty now more than ever, and you need to safeguard your retirement savings. Now, this may not apply to all of my listeners, but if you are dealing with a 401k or an IRA and you want to move that over to gold, this message is for you. Gold is a trusted source of value, providing stability for centuries through countless market cycles. When you have a gold IRA from Noble Gold Investments, you can protect your financial future with the enduring power of precious metals. Do not let the election, as I call it, that volatility erode your hard-earned nest egg. Vote for the timeless safety of gold and silver in 2024. Now, if you are a Trump fan, you can get 10 of these 1-ounce silver Trump coins with your qualified account. How cool is this? That you could give this to someone, another Trump fan, you could keep it in case we are going to no more of that fiat money in the future, or if you prefer, you can opt for this. This is actually a 10-ounce silver American flag bar, and you can get that with your qualifying account. So Noble Gold Investments, your partner in financial peace of mind for 2024. Of course, there's always a risk of investment. There's no guarantee of any kind. But with that disclaimer, I do want you to either click through in the description box below or just go to noblegoldinvestments.com. Friends, from day one of all of the hogwash now, we are going into year 5. I have been standing up and speaking out about how you can stand up for your rights, stand up for your convictions, and how to cite the laws that actually guarantee and protect your freedom. Now, I know there are plenty of people that have been dealing with corrupt criminals, including their employer. Maybe you had some kind of militant grocery store clerk that wouldn't let you breathe oxygen. Maybe your child was unable to play sports because they didn't want to become a human pincushion. You might be trying to get your legal immigration in this country, and they're telling you that you have to become a human pincushion. You might have a child trying to go to college. Maybe you're just trying to get your own medical services, and you are being denied every step of the way. My job has been from day one to help you understand your rights and the laws that protect those rights. So many people in their encouragement, many people in their enthusiasm, actually, I mean to say, to stand up for their rights have been citing the Nuremberg Code. And I'm glad that people want to stand up for their rights, but there are some problems with citing the Nuremberg Code. Now, I have covered this in great detail. In fact, I'm going to share with you a previous video that I did. So some of the information when I talk about there not being any approved cocktails, we know that there is one now. It's Comirnaty. I don't know if it is actually available for sale. So a little of that information was valid at the time, but the bigger picture about the Nuremberg Code still stands. So, whoops, I've got my little kitty cat here knocking a few things. Here he is, knocking a few things. And in this video, you're going to see Tabby Tesoro's cousin. So I've got another little kitty cat that's featured in my video about what is wrong with the Nuremberg Code. Let me know in a comment if this has occurred to you as well. And I really appreciate you being on board. So sit back and let's dive in to what's wrong with the Nuremberg Code. Hey friends, it's Peggy Hall here from thehealthyamerican.org. This is little Joey. He's a little bit of a special needs, but we just love him and he will not let me record without being on my lap. So today, I want to talk to you about why the Nuremberg Code doesn't really matter in terms of you and what matters instead. At The Healthy American, I love hearing from you. You guys email me a lot of links and information, and many of you have sent me information about the Nuremberg Code. And I want to explain what that is and why it doesn't really have any legal authority in the United States and why I personally am opposed to putting any weight or value on it. Now, let me just say that I agree 100% with the principles that are listed in the Nuremberg Code, but I also want to caution you against why we should not put any weight or value into it in terms of it being international law and why that's going to backfire. So first, let me share my screen and we will take a look here, shall we? Now, this is Wikipedia because that's what the internet likes to serve up first when I do a search. So I figured let's just see what the rest of the world is looking at when they look up the Nuremberg Code. And so you can also see that you can read all about it, and it came out of World War II and all of the horrendous things that were being done to human beings, and it came as a set of 10 points. So this is what came out of the Nuremberg trials, stating that this was what was permissible in doing medical experiments on humans. Now, you can read, it's very short, and there are 10 points here, and basically it says that the voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. I agree with everything that's in here. 100% I agree with it. I'm not arguing with the content of the Nuremberg Code, but I am cautioning you against the application of it, and this is why. It is what would be considered international law. Now, you know, if you're watching The Healthy American, and let me just come off the screen for a moment, you know, and I know that we do not want any part of this New World disorder. And I call it, thank you to someone who gave me that idea, the New World disorder, because that is exactly the opposite of how our country was founded. We were founded as a nation of individuals with individual rights, and we and I categorically object to any sort of world government, national, even a national government. We don't have a national government. We are a federation of independent states, and each state has its own government, its own laws, codes, regulations, so on and so forth. This idea that we are going to be one big happy family of a United Nations New World disorder. I mean, think about your own family. Are there people that you don't get along with in your own family? Or is your family one big happy family? Think about all of the in-laws and the outlaws and so on and so forth. How about at your company? Does everybody get along at your company? All the coworkers, all the employees, all the supervisors, everybody gets along, right? They all have the same common goal. How about in your community? Now, I happen not to be at my own home. I'm away on a few days here visiting. But in my community, we have about 300 people in our
HOA association, we can't even agree on when the pool is open and which parking spaces are supposed to be for guests or residents. It is hard enough for 300 people to agree on something. Why in the world would I want 3 billion people, or however many people are in the world now, to agree on something or to make laws that are going to affect me? I don't. So I categorically reject any idea or notion of a world government, one world disorder, or even a national government that makes all the decisions for you and me in our local area. So even using or putting forth the Nuremberg Code as a legitimate code of law for the United States, it actually amplifies or underlines or magnifies this idea that the United States and you and I can even be subject to international laws. And we can't. We are not international citizens. We are United States citizens. And I know you guys are going to argue with me, the American sovereign and the sovereign citizen and the straw man and the legal fiction. That is a conversation for another day. If you live in the United States, you are in the United States, you are not subject to international law. And I reject the notion of validating the Nuremberg Code as if it applies to you and me. I agree with the principles, but I don't agree with legitimizing an international law that applies to us. It does not. And I'm going to go further and show this to you. So let me share the screen again. And we'll take a look here. It even says that the Nuremberg Code has not been officially accepted by law by any nation. So it's not a law. It is a code of ethics, which I happen to agree with, but in here it says it hasn't even been officially accepted as ethics guidelines by any association. So there are other laws that govern the medical experimentation on humans. There are laws in different countries and there are laws in the United States. Now, I'm going to share with you the laws in the United States, and those are the ones that I hope you will be relying upon instead of the Nuremberg Code. I reject that we are under any sort of jurisdiction by the WHO, right? The WHO. And if you want to do a little research into symbolism of the owl, you will also see how important that is and why I believe that organization used the acronym. So that World Health Organization has no legal authority over you or over me in the United States. Neither does the Nuremberg Code. Let me share the screen and I'll show you what does. And this actually is, let me do a couple of things for you. I did a few videos on the FDA, and the FDA clearly stating that the needle, right, the needle for this illness has not been approved. All right, has not been approved, contrary to the Wall Street Journal, which I'm going to show you in a moment, that they actually published an article, and I hope you all will write to them and call them and ask for a retraction. They stated that these vaccines are approved, and they're not approved. They are authorized. There is a difference, and here you go. This is on the FDA website, all right? These are emergency use authorizations for Pfizer, Moderna, and here's Janssen, and I think a new one was just coming through with Johnson & Johnson, so I don't know about this Janssen one. And here it will also tell us that it is an emergency use authorization. And you say, Peggy, you are just splitting hairs again. There you go again. You're cherry picking the information. It doesn't matter. Authorization, approval, you're just mincing the words again. It does matter because an approval means, let me say, an authorization means it is still a medical experiment. And you have the right to refuse a medical experiment. You have the right to refuse any needle and any medical treatment. And I've spoken about this for months. I have it at thehealthyamerican.org under medical rights, and I hope that you will go there. So if you would like to read a little further, you could see what this is. The FDA issued an emergency use authorization for the third needle for the prevention of this. And it's interesting because when you go and read, it doesn't actually prevent it, but it states that it lessens the symptoms. And that's not my words. Those are the words of the needle inventors here. So you can read about this, and it says that, here, I want to show you again, because it states that the authorization will be effective until the declaration of circumstances that exist, justifying the authorization of the emergency use of drugs and biologics is terminated. So that's part of the reason they're keeping us in this emergency, so they can use an emergency authorization. It is not approved, therefore it is a medical experiment. So let's take a look now, shall we, at the United States federal policy against or that governs medical experiments. And here you go. The federal policy for the protection of human subjects. It is known as the Common Rule. And I am here under the federal government website, HHS, healthandhumanservices.gov. You can take a look here. And it is 45. CFR stands for the Codes and Federal Regulations, Part 46. So I clicked through to find out about that. And we are going to go here. It is the general requirements for informed consent. That means you have the right to be informed, to be told about this medical experiment. And here we go. Let me increase the size a little bit. Oh, that might be a little too big. So let me get here for us. So it states that, did I lose it here? Informed consent. This whole document is actually really, really interesting. I may have, this is it, title, Part 46, Protection of Human Subjects. And this is what you can read. So I want to look at the, I'm just going to scroll through it a little bit here, friends. You can look at all of this, hhs.gov, and it states, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to have to do all this scrolling. I kind of lost my place here. So let me do this. Let me find my spot. I'll be right back with you. Okay, friends, I found the part of the document that I wanted to share with you. So here we go. I got my little Jojo-san is taking a nap, and he doesn't want any medical experiments done on him. I don't like that either. And we certainly don't want to have medical experiments done on ourselves without our consent. So let's take a look here, and we will, this is the general requirements for informed consent. So please write this down. This little figure, this little, this means section, that little code there, that little figure. So that means section 46.116, general requirements for informed consent. This is the regulation that governs the United States. You don't need the Nuremberg Code. Remember, we don't want to legitimize international laws having any applicability in the United States. Are you with me, friends? I want to hear from you in a comment below. This is what you want, general requirements for informed consent. So here we go. Before involving a human subject in research, an investigator shall obtain the legally effective informed consent of the subject, which means if you are getting a test, if you are wearing the scam, and if you are getting the needle, all of these fall under the category of a medical experiment because they have not been proven to be safe. That's why it is an emergency authorization. In fact, I need to go back and see if YouTube changed its policies, because they had guidelines talking about an approved needle, and there is no approved needle. It's only authorized, and you know and I know the difference. So it goes on to say that you need to be able to understand what it is that you're doing. You must be provided with the information. So this is informed consent, and basic elements of informed consent. A statement that the study involves research and explanation of the purposes of the research, the expected duration of the subject's participation, and so on and so forth. A description of the reasonably foreseeable risks or discomforts to the subject. and a disclosure of appropriate alternative procedures or courses of treatment that may be advantageous to the subject. So this is, and then if they get any compensation, or if there are any medical treatments available if injury occurs, all right? So this is very important, and I want to show you also, here it is also the FDA regulations relating to good clinical practice and clinical trials. I just was clicking around a little bit here, friends. So here it is again, general requirements for informed consent, and this comes from also the, let me just scroll up a little bit. This comes from the Electronic Code of Federal Regulations. That's that CFR that I was showing you. And so this is giving you all of the information about informed consent of human subjects. Now, you can read it all in detail. My point here is to point out that the Nuremberg Code is not the only authority on informed consent for medical experiments. The United States has its own code of federal regulations that you can rely on. Please stop talking about the Nuremberg Code. Stop giving it legitimacy in terms of it being a law that applies to you and me, because it does not. So you can read all about this. You can read about the clinical trials and so on and so forth. I have all of that here for you. My goal is to help you defend your freedoms, learn about the laws that protect you, and fight this oppression and tyranny at every level. So this little, he's a JJ, he's Joey, we call him Jojo, and he and I are going to stay healthy and happy, and we can do that with your support. Thanks, everybody. We need all hands on deck. See you soon.